Well, here's a topic I don't see discussed very often. You know, I got all these beautiful meat cows and meat producing cows. Let's talk about meat prices. What should you do with meat prices? What should you as a consumer look for meat prices? And I guess that's it. I'll focus more on the consumer side and I'll sprinkle in a little bit of the farmer side, right? So you got a bunch of different options for meat. We'll start there. You got grain-fed, grass-fed, grain-finished, grass-finished. Those are your main options. There may be some folks that add stuff in there, like distiller grain-fed or distiller grain-finished. Speaking of finished, are you finished yet? Well, what was that? So anyhow, so those are your main options. Why you would choose one over the other? Let's just take grass-fed, grass-finished, grass-fed, grain-finished. Some folks will say you'll get better marbling with a grain-finish because you'll add more fat. Some folks will say they can taste the difference in them, which, okay, if you can, you know, I'm not going to argue that point, but if you can taste the difference, then there's a difference in it. But what does that mean for price point? Well, you would expect grass-fed, grass-finished to be more expensive, right? Because I'm not putting on the grain. They're not able to get as big and as fat because they have less protein. There are ways to solve that with grasses, yes. But for the most part, they're not going to be as big, they're not going to be as heavy, and they're not going to be as finished. But that's where your genetics come into place. A lot of folks, especially if you are in the show circuits at all, 90 to 95% of your animal's performance in a show ring is genetics. The other 5, 10, some folks will even say 20% is the way you feed them out. And we see that a lot with our pigs. You know, these guys don't do great in a show ring because I want a fat cow. I want a fat mama. If we look at this mama, you can see her baby on her. You know, you got a nice fat cow. She still looks 9 months pregnant, and that's her little 1-month-old right there. But what's that got to do with meat? If I can produce a fat, heavy cow like this on grass only, do I need to grain finish? You know, if I can get a mama that's this big on grass only, why grain finish at all? So those are some of the things to consider. Now that's a breed thing. You know, this is definitely a breed thing. These are Irish Dexters. They have a lot of really great marbling on grass only. In fact, a lot of all of the butcher shops we've taken to, the first time we've taken them there, they always ask about why our short Anguses, why our little young Anguses have so much marbling and such good meat. That's because they're not little Anguses, they're Irish Dexters. So there's definitely a price difference, and it's mainly because grain is cheaper than hay for the most part, especially if you're getting good quality high protein hay, which is what most folks use to finish out a cow. Or if they're using lower quality hay like what I generally have, the reason they'll be more expensive is they're going to let their animals live to be 2.5 years old instead of the 1.5 to 2 years that's normally industry standard. So I'm leaving my cows out there longer, which means I've got more time before I can turn a profit on my cows. So I need to charge a little bit more. But what does that mean for the consumer? The consumer doesn't necessarily get a better product. Just because it's grass-finished, grass-fed doesn't mean it's a better product. These jerseys here. Now, I will say, for everything everyone says about jerseys, these jerseys do really well on grass. I really love these jerseys from this specific farm that we get them from for their grass abilities, which in a dairy operation is fantastic because then that means you can feed lower quality forages and still get really nice muscle mass, still get really good fat content, and you don't have to have is energy intensive food. So for something along those lines, you know, the jerseys are supposed to do the worst, but we find that they do really well grass-fed, grass-finished. So for the consumer standpoint, you just got to go with what you want. If you want to try some grass-fed, grass-finished, I definitely encourage that. It is really good meat. We don't add any hormones or anything like that to our meat, so this is as natural as you're going to get if you're someone that's looking for the natural. But the price point can be a bit challenging. I have seen folks that sell grass-fed ground beef for $7 a pound, where we generally sell our grass-fed ground beef for $4 a pound. A lot of that has to do with market availability and demand. In our area, there's a lot of farmers selling beef and not a whole lot of rich folks that can afford $7 for ground beef. And we're not, like, we are within an hour to 2 hours of really large metropolitan areas, so we could take our meat there to farm markets and such. But that's something that we just don't have enough meat available. We sell our meat pretty quick, and well, I'd rather just get it sold and get it gone for $4 a pound than hope to sell it for $7, because then, you know, there's a saying in the market: bears make money, bulls make money, pigs get slaughtered. Which means if you're too greedy, you're gonna lose everything. But if you do what you're supposed to do, you'll be fine. I am gonna have to go tell Miss Thing up here that she needs to move her butt, because she does not need to be grazing all my grass. So that's a little bit about the beef market for you folks. I know I may not have answered why prices are different and why you should or shouldn't get a different product or not, but there's a little bit of a explanation for it. There's a little bit of reason why for it. So thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna get Miss Thing back where it belongs, and we'll see you guys on the next one.